Welcome to DPS's The Next Level, our podcast created, homegrown, and facilitated by the Superintendent of Dayton Public Schools, me, Dr. David Lawrence. I am here today with, I say this every time, my favorite episode, but trust me, this time is really favorite. We have parents here. We've had students, we've had teachers, we've had operation, we've had clerical, we've had principals, we've had central office folks, we've had lots of people, but now we're bringing the bread and butter here, the people that make this whole operation go called Dayton Public Schools. Not me, not the staff, but the parents. And so this is going to be a really exciting episode. I cannot wait to get started. So I will start on my right, but you guys might be looking at me, my left. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Lawrence. My name is Joshua Knowles. I am a parent of 3 in Dayton Public Schools. I have a senior over at Stivers. Can't believe she's about to graduate already. I've got 2 over at Rivers Edge. My son is in 4th grade, and my youngest, she's in 2nd grade. I'm a former employee of the district, so Dayton Public Schools to my heart, and so. And then, of course, my beautiful wife is also a principal in the district. So shout out to Ms. Knowles over at Edison.
A fantastic principal, I might add.
Hi, I'm Bethany Ramsey. I have 2 wonderful kids at Rivers Edge, 3rd grader and kindergartner. I am also proudly on the PTO, REAP, so a shout out to them. I used to be a president over there, but now I'm just a member at large, but love to support and do our monthly popcorn, so shout out to that. And hello, everyone.
And I'm going to take you right downstairs to the person that's going to make sure that all those other schools have the popcorn machine when we're done.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's you and I.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Carrie Farley. I'm the parent mentor here at DPS, and I have a 13-year-old daughter at Stivers, 8th grade, Jordan Farley. I have a younger daughter that we are out of district, but Jordan auditioned and got into Stivers for theater. Happy to be here.
Great.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tassandra Justice. I have 3 lovely children. One is over at Dunbar, Moses Sanford. He is on the varsity basketball team. I have Monte and Mykira that's over at Kemp Elementary. I am the parent ambassador over Dayton Dunbar.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vonda Ford. I'm here representing my grandsons from the luscious E.J. Brown Middle School. Rayvon Lydell is an 8th grader, and Deshaun Tucker is a 7th grader. And I'm also a parent ambassador at E.J. Brown, a former member of Edison School with Miss Knowles, was the parent ambassador there for 5 years. And I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's awesome to see you. I saw you last week at the Health and Wellness Fair
Yes,
at
sir.
Opponents. You were smiling and good spirits. That was one of the best events. Actually, that's the first time we've done that, and we're going to do it again.
And we had a good turnout. It was.
It was a fantastic turnout. I've seen Moses on several occasions because I watched a lot of high school basketball. I, of course, am a Dunbar alumni.
Okay.
I tell people that all the time.
Okay.
And of course, I attended Stivers. Too, and so I've been to almost all the schools. Andor was a principal or taught at them, so I have connections to all the schools. So I have to ask, it's going to be a question that I think is really important. We are increasing in enrollment. We are increasing our career tech pathways. We are looking at how we think and process information as relates to Dayton Public Schools. I had someone stop me the other day. I was in Baltimore and said, hey, we were on your website. I was there for a presentation, and we couldn't believe customer service was one of your 5 core values. And I said, absolutely. How we treat parents is why they stay or why they leave. Mm-hmm. This is not just about school. It's not just about the report card. It's about how we treat people, in particular parents. Could you tell me about how you've been treated in Dayton Public Schools and if we can get better and how so as a parent?
I'll start.
Jump in, Josh.
So for me, I've seen the improvement, and I've always agreed about the customer service piece, mainly because I just feel like that's the gateway into the district. Those first people you talk to, whether that's the secretary in the office, or you dial 542-3000, you want to be treated a certain way, and so how can it improve? I mean, I always nothing's perfect, so I always feel like there are ways in which we can get better. One of the ways is for us as parents to just be truthful and be honest whenever we have an issue with somebody, a customer service issue with someone, but also being understanding in terms of, this is an ongoing thing. And so we can't just jump straight to frustration. I'm a small business owner, so I get it in terms of, we're all learning at the same time, right? And so we just have to be supportive of one another, and that's on both sides of the aisle. And I include our children as well. So that's on both sides. And if we're not going to be patient, then this isn't going to work. So I just think the patience is the key to continuous improvement in that area.
I'll say this. When someone stops me and says one of two things, hey, your people got right back with me, I mean, that makes me feel really well. Yeah. It makes me feel great. And sometimes they stop me and say, hey, so-and-so was supposed to contact me, and they didn't. Of course, I'm out in the community all the time, and so people stop me. I like to think I'm a people superintendent, that you can stop and talk to me. And when they say that, I immediately get on my phone and text somebody and say, hey, we need to get back in touch with these folks because it's really important. Carrie, how can we get better? Have we been good, and can we get better?
I believe it's moving in the right direction. And how we can get better is just definitely following that 24 to 48 hour rule. And I believe just communicating with everyone, letting them know up front, hey, if I don't know the answer, then I will try to find out that answer for you, not just being truthful, I don't have all the answers. Sometimes we can say we have all the answers and then send people on wild goose chases. So
yeah,
just, being honest and transparent and just saying, hey, I know myself. I'll say, I don't know that answer, but let me reach out to a contact or someone that I know. I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. And then if it's getting close to that time frame that I gave them, say if it's 24 hours, I say I'll get back to you by the end of the day. If it's getting close to that time frame, then I'll say, let me reach back out to this parent, and I'll say, hey, I still haven't heard back, but let me, I'm still on this. I'll get back with you. I haven't forgotten about you or something like that. Or, just you have to have that follow-up. So I feel like that's one thing we can do. If we keep doing those kind of things, it'll keep pushing that, moving the needle forward.
Deshandra, I heard you mention whisper communication.
Communication. It's always the key with me. I've always been big on communication. Whether if it's a follow-up, whether if it's a training, whether if it's a staff meeting, to put the concerns at the forefront and somebody be that communication of that direct line of communication and continue to reach back out to those parents, because it is very important that we are not left just dangling trying to figure it out ourselves, because sometimes we don't know what direction to go in. So once they do their part with the information and they get back to us with the information, then we all work together. And it's always going to take a village to raise these kids. So if we all work together as a team, it'll continue to get better. It's always going to be room for improvement. Nothing is going to be perfect. So communication.
Bethany, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel really, satisfied. Obviously, we've had some conversations before, so I feel like the access.
That's why we invited you. I wanted somebody to say something good.
Exactly.
Get her on.
Well, I will. So the access has been great. It's been improved, and I love that direct line of communication and that you are accessible. I do appreciate some of the comments on patience that Joshua was saying over here. And I do think sometimes there are people who have feedback, and sometimes that the way it's presented sometimes kind of close.
I need to write that down.
Yeah.
The way it's presented.
Yeah. And, it's hard because you're like, well, we have our leadership and they should be able to accept every feedback as it comes. But I think there is a struggle. And I think having more education on just like what has been successful, like seeing other parents, like what parents have been successful in the district getting what they need and what they want and how did they do that. And so just more, pathways for people to be successful and just kind of giving them that toolkit, like, okay, does it come to a Board of Education meeting, or is there a step before that? Is there something you go? Is it go to your teacher first, then your principal, then is there a superintendent? Like, what are the steps? And I'd love to see that be communicated kind of in like a little package for everyone. Yeah, a little flow chart for everyone. And, I know a lot of comments about what is equitable in the district. So I think when you create those, organization tools that everyone can see, that makes it more equitable. Everyone can follow similar steps, and we can have that kind of respect as well. Like, hey, when you approach, this is kind of the expectation. When you go to a board meeting, it's going to be 3 minutes. I think people need that education and just like a nice little one-pager. So I'm big on that. I'm big on those little...
I love that. And this
Standard
listen,
operations.
this is
University.
This is a real story. So I was here. Our studio sits in part of my office. I don't ever sit there. I usually sit out there at that circle table where all that busy work is. And I mean, everybody who knows me knows this. I work just about every Saturday and most Sundays. And so I was here on Saturday. That's my catch-up day, Saturday and Sunday. And I called a parent. And I typically don't have to call parents because the people who work with me, they do a great job of kind of putting these fires out before they even get to me. Typically call the teacher, and then sometimes people go, call the superintendent. Well, then it goes back into where it should go, and they usually solve it. But I talked to a parent this weekend. She said, I didn't know where to go. She said, I didn't know that after the principal at Eastmont, I didn't know that the elementary principals have a supervisor, and her name is Judith Spurlock. And I didn't know that Judith Spurlock is the chief of elementary schools, and that after that, the person who supervises all of the entire academic operation is the associate superintendent, Lisa G. Minor. And I didn't know that after that, then you were the person. And then I didn't know that if I called you and it still wasn't resolved, I didn't know that then I was specifically supposed to email the board president. She said, I didn't know all that. And so I emailed my people over there shaking their heads. I emailed this weekend and said, hey, this is a real issue. We have to make this really prominent on the website where people know where to call, because I have to be really transparent. Sometimes when people just go straight to and they email the Board of Education and I don't know anything about it, I'm like, I never got a chance to solve it, right?
Yeah.
And I used to take offense to it, to be honest. But I'm getting past that now. And now what I'm learning is maybe it's an education piece, right?
Yeah.
You said chain of command.
Gotta have it.
Chain of command. You said it.
Yeah.
So you're always smiling, so I think we must be doing a good job with you. But tell us if we are and how we can do better.
Well, my experience go back. I'm old school. My kids went through DPS, Jefferson Montessori.
Oh,
So yeah,
You
I'm
are-
real old
yes.
school. Yes, and I loved it. Coming from the military, that
Yes.
was good for me.
was Bert Sears the principal then?
No,
Okay.
oh, I don't remember.
Gotcha. It is old school.
But to come, I'm working with my grandsons. But I did accomplish to have them go through the elementary school where I grew up, Edison School. So they're at E.J. Brown, and when I was telling people, oh, E.J. Brown, I was like, what's wrong with E.J. Brown? The rumors and stuff. I was like, oh, no, we cool. I'm going to be over there. Y'all know me. I'm like a rock. I'm like Allstate. You in good hands.
That's right.
So
That's right.
So, I did have a bus situation, but I called, told them who I was. They was Johnny on the step. Johnny on the step. I mean, one thing I would say to anybody, if you have a problem, come with a suggestion. It seems to work, make everything
Pastor
go
Vonda,
smoother.
say that one more time.
If you have a problem, We suggest you come with a solution. We can come to the table, think about it, work it out. Might not work, but somebody can come up with something else. But when you got a problem, come to the table with a solution. It will make things go smoothly. And that's what we want at DPS, smooth sailing.
I love it. You're absolutely right. I work hard on that, trying to make sure that things are smooth. We have issues, but how do you, not that you're going to not have them, but the question is, how do you deal with them? How do you reduce them? And then how do you deal with them, right? And I think that's a sign of a high-performing culture when you minimize a number of issues. And then when you do have them, I say this a lot in this building, that we want to be a professional organization.
Yes.
In professional organizations, we call you back. Yeah, in professional organizations, we ask for and receive solutions without being defensive. Yeah, without being defensive, that's important. My next question is going to be really controversial. I can't wait to hear you all respond. When I was a teacher and I would be in the teacher's lounge, now clearly because I'm doing home visits, well over 500 of them in my career. I started my career at E.J. Brown, and Norma Gastons was the principal, and she gave me my class list. There were 28 sixth graders. I think soon to be 32. Back then, I think overload pay was 29. I can't remember. But I had a lot of sixth graders, and I went to every home that summer. And my first year was a fantastic year, and every year after that, for the most part, was. And I think it's because I made those connections in the home with the parents in the sixth grade and when I taught in high school at Meadowdale. I think what I heard in those teachers' lounges was anytime a student was not successful, typically it was the parents' fault.
Well, it started at home.
Yeah, they'll go, the parents did. The parents. And then you hear that outside of teachers' lounges too, right? You hear it in society writ large. It's the parents' fault. That's a common thing. When you hear that, when you hear kids who are not successful or not following directions, it's the parents' fault. What's your initial reaction, Bethany?
Oh, okay.
What's your initial reaction?
I'm first. Well, I think I'm a little old school in my thinking that, I'm big on the idea of the village and the community. And, we have, people and parents who come from all different situations and circumstances. And we also have kids who may not have a home with parents in them. And I think it's important for us to have structures to account for that. And even for, people who do have parents, we have to have something. How can we get those parents engaged? Do we really have, again, like I said, the word pathways, do we have ways for those people, like easy access? Maybe it's hard for them. Maybe they're not used to it. They're flexing a muscle they've never had before. But do we have a way for those parents to really connect and get involved in the school? Something easy, something low-hanging fruit for them to just see, like, you can do this. You can be involved. I think there's people who don't have that confidence. You never know what to. Sometimes I'm kind of I don't want to say fully benefit of the doubt, but I don't want to assume it's because they don't want to.
Oh.
I think it's important that do we really have the structures and opportunities?
They have barriers.
Right, barriers. They have barriers.
I love your response. I want to tell the viewers that this was not scripted. I did not ask Bethany to say it because, she's speaking to a real issue. We have over 800 kids who are foster parents, group homes, or homeless. We're making some assumptions, right? When we say it's the parents' fault. Yes. I love this piece around the benefit of the doubt and a village. I could hear everyone kind of shaking their heads saying your fault. Come on now. That's a big stretch to blame the adults who are in the house raising the child because it's not always parents. Sometimes it's auntie. Sometimes it's big brother, big sister. Sometimes it's grandparents, sometimes it's in-laws, sometimes it's an older cousin. We've seen a lot. And I think those kids that have those situations, they deserve mentorship. They deserve advocates. I know personally if I didn't have, my mom and my parents, I wouldn't be in the place that I am and how successful. And I'm like, every child deserves to have someone in their corner to really support them. And sometimes it's not going to be someone at home. So I just hope that we can have some structures in the school where, okay, we can give them a little bit of that, And so
That's how I feel.
Lady T, what say you?
It's the benefit of the doubt where you were, that you were just saying it doesn't always fall on the household because, like you were stating, you don't know what that child is going through. Typically, that child get wrote off at school and now they don't get any help because of XYZ, or they came in with attitudes, or it doesn't just fall on the home, but it does take a village, and that home has to be willing to allow that village to come in and help. And that's
Okay.
it's whatever is going on. You just have to keep your mind open that it's a child, and this child is looking for direction. And you want to be that point of direction to where this child can later become successful and take over one day. We were talking over there in the other room about how scared we are to have some of this generation take over later on. But if we don't step up and go back to knocking on them doors, then we're going to fall to our babies going into the jail systems, getting buried, sad mothers and fathers and aunties and all type of family members, even the school district. It just takes a village. It takes a village, and everybody have to put their guards down and have to be willing to help these kids, because it is so sad. Over at Dunbar, I am the parent ambassador. So when we had first did our first event, we really didn't have no parents come in. It was all kids, and they were coming in. They was just eating out of pizza. So me and Deshaun Riley, we sat there and we was like, let's go ahead and make them, because they was coming and trying to eat, and they was trying to leave. We like, nah, we're going to go ahead and play some games. We're going to go ahead and get so once we start getting them involved, kind of like how we start settling our nerves in here, like once they start settling, they were like, okay, we can. So they start opening up like, my mom just not going to get it. Or my dad he not around. So we start listening. And once you start listening, the next event, you can do it a little different. You can bring some more things to the table. You can reach out and start asking for volunteers to come in and speak to these kids. And it take a village. It take a village.
Ms. Vonda, what say you?
Yeah, they pretty much touch everything. But one thing I would like to say is these parents, a lot of parents are friends to their kids. And sometimes that can be bad, because this society, kids need structure. And this structure starts at home, and then you take it outside. But we have to have structure at all times. Structure is good. That's like the foundation. So I would say, I wish we can break down some of these barriers to have open arms, let this village come in to help you.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Yes.
Jerry, what do you think? They say it's the parents' fault. It's all on the parent. Then sometimes they say parents. I'm like, do you realize that might be one parent?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be one parent.
Yeah.
That's trying to do their best. And so that's something I hear a lot, like especially dealing in special education. You might have a kid that has disabilities, and it's not that the parent doesn't care. They may not know how to properly care for their child. They may not be educated. They might have just gotten a diagnosis, and they're like, I'm trying to learn how to best support my child, and so their child's falling behind, or say they're waiting to get a diagnosis, waiting to get evaluated to get a diagnosis. And then in the meantime, they're having to wait maybe almost a year to get an evaluation. Well, in between that time, before their child can get a 504 or IEP, their child's falling by the wayside. And then, so what are people doing? It's the parents' fault. The parent doesn't know what to do because there's not been an evaluation to even pinpoint where exactly what's going on with their child, So I would say it really is just, like they say, it's the village, but it's also the systems too.
And it's also the parent, how the parent reacts when they're saying, I seeing this going on with your child or that going on with your child. I have a child that's on an IEP, that's trying to get on an IEP, because well, let's say this. The school was very helpful. At first I'm like, huh, what are you saying? My child need medicine? I wasn't aware. I'm like, what are you trying to say? And they broke it down to me. It wasn't that I took it as you're pointing my child out, you're making my child seem like he's this, he's that. No, they was concerned. Mm-hmm. And by them being concerned that the way that you said it to me, the way that they stated it to me, it made me take it in like, okay, all right, so what do we do? What's the chain of command? What's the process? How do we get this? Because I don't want my baby left behind, and they don't leave no kid behind. The experience that I've had with my kids since they've been, and we haven't been out of Dayton Public. So Dayton Public have stepped up tremendously for me and my children. And I don't have a big name in the school district. I'm slowly but surely gaining my stripes. You know, I don't really know. So they were very, very patient with me, very understanding, because at first I'm like, what? What do you mean? Right. And I'm like, okay, shoulders down, Tassandra. I understand what they're trying to say. You don't have
I'm going to use that one. Next time a conference gets tight, just really tense, shoulders down. Everybody shoulders down.
So I had to relax, and I had to understand that there are things in place for children that need extra help, extra assistance, and it takes the village to bring it in and for you to relax and say, okay, you know what, where do we begin? Let's start.
Carrie, thank you so much for bringing that up about the students with special needs. About almost a quarter of our students have IEPs and 504s, but I'm just going to name a list of things that I think could be intimidating to a parent. MTSS, this is how the process is supposed to start. Then it's supposed to go to IAT. And then you're supposed to get an evaluation. And then after you get the evaluation, you're supposed to sit in a meeting that's an ETR. And then after the ETR, we're going to have an IEP. You get the point, right?
Yes,
and I'm the parent, and I'm supposed to take all this in, right?
I just need one sheet.
Yeah, and by the way, I've been waiting on a year for you to give me all those initials and acronyms that I don't know what all that's about, right?
Yeah, that's what my shoulders.
Okay, and then I'm supposed to have you want me to go to the SOP page, and then I'm supposed to look at that and go to number 13. See, so here we are saying all these complex terms and things to parents, and then we wonder why their shoulders get up, right?
Yes. Yes.
But if the parents, if you have all these questions or concerns, how is anybody going to help you if you're not saying nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to communicate.
If you act like you're not seeing it at home, because you see it at home.
Yeah, but you have to. Well, the thing is, a lot of parents, I'm old school, so a lot of parents they take defense against that.
Yes, ma'am.
Against defense. When the teacher notices it's to help you, and it's the way they interpret it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, both of my grandsons has an IEP, but I brought it to the teacher. Mm-hmm. Something I'm seeing at home, and I brought it to the teachers just to be aware, pay attention. Am I overreacting? Then found out, no, I wasn't.
Okay.
Right. Josh, do you think
do
you think parents get defensive when we bring things to them about their children?
I do.
Worked in that space.
Yeah, I do. I've experienced it. Mm-hmm. I've been guilty. Of it
that's why you're
past.
honest.
You know, and that's just, you know, and you know afterwards that you were dead wrong, you know. Mm-hmm. But like, so for me, like, I feel like it's a cop out. I think it's the easy way out to say it's the parents' fault. You know, I mean, because there's a multitude of influences, different factors, and you know, I'll continue to use my anecdotal experience in terms of. We all were kids at one point, you know, and I know for a fact that some of the stuff that I was doing, I wasn't taught to do that. You know, and
Mom,
so
you hear
I say, you know my mother very well. So
Mom, you hear that? I know it's mother. You hear that? Run this again.
But I knew for a fact that I was doing some stuff that was outside of the way I was raised. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not on my parents. Right. That's a personal decision, right? So I feel like sometimes we like to play this game of personal accountability, but then at the same time say it's the parents' fault. Wow. And I feel like you kind of got to pick one on that. And then I always like to play the game, the why game, right? If parents are, let's use, like you said, being friends with the kids, why, right? And then, well, there's an answer to that. Why?
Could be overcome.
And so I went through the Equity Fellows program, and that was one of the things that we were taught was to why your way back to the root cause, so that then we can start to actually move the needle and really accomplish something. But if we just keep pointing out, I love what you said about bringing solutions to the table.
Yes.
You know, if we just keep pointing fingers, you know, and not recognizing that there's 4 pointing back at you, right? And so it's like, what good does that do? You know, and so I don't think that is like, it may partially be on the parents, but it also may partially be on the neighborhood. It may partially be on their friends.
Destruction of jobs,
it may,
wages, living standards.
You know, so there's so many factors that to call out one to me is that's just the easy way out. And so I never got with that.
I love this idea. We talked off camera right before it started about the episodes and who was on, and we talked about the kindergarten episode.
Oh yeah,
kindergartners, that you'll be back at some point. And I would say I brought them up because as little kids ask why all the time.
oh yeah.
What's unfortunate is as we get older, to your point, Josh, we get out of the why game.
Because we think we
And
know.
we start to make the judgment, right? We're done with asking why. We think because of our own lived experiences, which is so small, minute, limited. Now we have a judgment call instead of asking why.
Right.
So my final question is: if you had one thing to say to your child as you are signing off of the podcast, what would you say to them?
To
your own children, your own
Oh.
personal children. Other than I love you.
master, I would say this: master self-awareness. Understand what you stink at and what you're good at,
Say that.
and double down, triple down on the things that you're good at.
That's for the adults too. Bethany?
So I kind of lean back on, my kids are a little younger, but, just recently, my daughter, there was like some confusion and she thought I was picking her up, but she had a little club that she was going to. And so it was just very emotional. She's just crying. She just was like, what's going on? You're picking me. And I was like, no. And she's like, oh no, now I'm too embarrassed. I can't go back in there. And when in those moments when she's just having big emotions or big feelings, I always just say, it's okay to feel. Like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to and I told her, I was like, you know how many times I've cried because I got lost or confused? All these kids have cried sometimes from confusion. You got this. And just let them process and be okay with having those big feelings. And every time I've let them have that space to do that, they just tend to get over it. Like, I said, you should be nervous. It is something to be, just not telling them don't be nervous. Saying this is something to be nervous about. And I feel like it really validates them. Yeah. And they're able to kind of pull through. And in this story, she pulled it together. She's like, okay. Took a little sip of water, went back in. When I picked her up, she'd run out, smile. So she had a good time. So yeah, just those are the things. Continue to say that to my kids. It's okay to feel sad, big emotions, angry,
It's okay
nervous.
to feel.
It's okay to have emotions
to be human.
and
Yes.
know what you stink at. What you say,
And know what you
And I say that to myself
know what you
sometimes.
stink at. Well, see, and then, at the end, I'm going to tell you there's a reason for these questions. I practice. Go right ahead, Carrie.
What I would say to Jordan, be humble. I would say to be humble because
I love it.
with her being an actress, she's on a TV show. She's have a lot of opportunities open up for her. She's an author. She's amazing. And I would just tell her to be humble. Right now, she is very humble, but I would pray that as she gets older, she will remain that way because that would afford her to have more opportunities. I don't want her to be one of those kids that grow up with one of the nasty attitudes and people don't like her and that would cancel her out. So I would just tell her, like I always, stay humble, just be thankful and grateful for the opportunities you have so you can get more of them.
Great feedback.
For
Lady
me, my different ages of stages of children I have, we typically go by this motto in my house: if you don't work, you don't eat. And it can go with a lot of things. They know what I'm talking about. So if you don't get up and do your job, you're not going to be able to eat. I like how you said, know when your stuff stink, be humble, and it's okay to feel what you feel. We bring it to the table as a family. We sort it out. We get through it. And at the end of the day, if you don't work, you don't eat.
I love it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Mine's, I will say, be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Special men's today. I got 2 grandsons, 12 and 14. I always want you to be true to yourself. To continue on loving your parents, love yourself, and, everybody surrounding you. So always be true to yourself.
Got you. So we got true to yourself. You don't work, you don't eat. Be humble. It's okay to be emotional.
Yes.
Let your emotions out and know what you stink at.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what you're good at.
Yeah, you know what? That's true too. And what
Self-aware.
Well, you know
I like
why I didn't say and what you're good at? Because sometimes, people think they're good at something.
They be-
they're not.
Well, that's when
It's a
it's
whole
okay to
nother
be,
story. It's a whole nother
Okay,
story.
your emotions gonna kick in when you find out you stink at something.
What you thought you was good at, in reality, you what?
We're going to break it down and build
Oh,
Like me trying to sing. No, I can't sing.
Like me trying to dance.
baby. It's all right.
I know I'm not good.
Take your time.
No.
Well, I'm going to close by saying that I knew this was going to be a good podcast. One of my favorite questions of all time, because I wanted you to speak to your kids, but in speaking to your kids, you're speaking to all kids and all parents about things that they can do to move forward to be better as a family. I'm going to close this episode of DPS The Next Level by saying to my kids, certainly a big apology to them. They're 30 and 26. I spent lots of hours working in the interest of other people's children and families and did not spend enough time with my own children. And for that, I cannot take that back. But I would say to the parents that are in my space where you are working and tracking success for other people and other things and your career, don't forget about your kids.
Yes, indeed.
We thank you for your sacrifice.
Yes.
We thank you for your sacrifice.
Don't forget about your kids, because sometimes you don't get it back. Well, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the parents. They're coming back this year. We're going to do a summer edition. How about that?
I still have 2 in the district.
I let my shoulder down.
Right. We'll have a summer edition. On behalf of all of Dayton Public Schools, 2,400 employees, we want to say thank you to the parents. Well, we appreciate you. Parents have talked about it a lot, so I'm glad we got a chance to come on and hear your voice.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
We're out.